Are you ready to
Yep,
talk
let's do
talk
it.
about our summer blockbuster or
Hmm.
summer movie hits? Because it's Labor Day weekend, friends, and that
The end
means
of
that
summer.
it is the unofficial end of summer. And this is Pop Culture Makes Me Jealous, where we analyze pop culture through the lens of race or gender, and sometimes both. Today, Mario Mellow is back, and we are discussing the summer movie season because now it's officially over. Wah, wah. So, for those of us who love movies, we believe that the movie season for the summer starts Memorial Day weekend and it lasts through Labor Day. And this summer was packed and stacked with the biggest movie theater going event was deemed Barbenheimer, which was the Barbie movie and Oppenheimer. So Mario and I are just going to get into it all, and we're first going to discuss what our top movies are of the summer, not necessarily the biggest blockbusters or critic favorites, but our favorites.
Hmm.
Do you want to go first, Mario?
I would like to make a little commentary on the Memorial Day. It used to be Memorial Day, but now it's the beginning of May because
Oh,
Marvel usually has their first movie that weekend. So
yeah.
that's now considered the official. And then even in the past few years, it's been the end of April when like the last weekend of April is considered the beginning because it was like an Endgame, it was Infinity
Mm,
War, then there was like
mm-hmm.
a Fast and Furious movie one that came out a few years ago. So it's always adjusts. It's always funny to me, but usually it's the beginning of May now that I've read. So that's always fun because then you get a whole good crop of May. Like this last May was
Stacked.
huge.
This last May was stacked. And it was hard because it was like I have to move my child, but then also all the movies, and then also I was like overload.
And that's when I'm thankful that I have Regal Unlimited because then I can just see all these movies and not have to pay.
Same, honestly, same, because it makes it so much easier. And especially now that like I'm sort of employed the way that I'm employed. I had a really hard day last week, and I was like, you know what? Fuck this shit. I'm going to the movies, taking a
There you go.
long break, going to the movies, and then afterwards I felt better and I came home and worked for like 7 more hours. Okay, tell me your favorites. Tell me what your
There
top
was
movies of the summer were.
there were so good. There were so many this year that I was so happy with, and that surprised me too. Probably though my favorite out of all of them was Across the Spider Verse.
Oh, that movie's
Uh,
so freaking good.
yeah, I saw it twice on the big screen. The first time I saw it in IMAX with a friend in LA, and it was just like, oh my gosh, it just
Mhm.
like I was so engulfed, and it just raised the stakes. And then it leaves you on this freaking cliffhanger, and you're just like, what the heck? And then now we have to wait forever to see part three.
I know, I was so
So
disappointed. I was like, March of 2024. Okay, kicking off 40 with the second part to this movie. And
yeah,
then they announced a delay in release.
yeah.
And I was like, listen, if I have to live through a presidential election the year I turn 40, the least you can do is give me the next installment of the Spider-Verse.
Right. But yeah, that's probably one of my favorites. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, cried like a baby because it was just
Yeah.
the end of that perfect trilogy. Um, I loved Mission Impossible, the new one, Dead Reckoning Part 1. It was so good, and I'm a fan of all of them. I recently rewatched them all to prepare for this one, and I feel like they always just top themselves. Although the Fallout, the last one, was really good with Henry Cavill, and I think that was like one of the greatest characters ever. And I'm sad he didn't come back for this one, but um,
What are you going to do?
we got Haley Atwell in this one, and she just was phenomenal and amazing. So
Yeah.
I'm excited for part two next year. So
That's
um,
good. Mission Impossible has been around for our entire lives.
right. Um, we also have there's a horror movie that came out called Talk to Me.
Oh
Um,
yeah, I couldn't even get through the first
yeah,
2 seconds. Like it like they just and I was like, "Nope, change the channel. Nope, I can't do it."
That was surprising. I actually got to see it. Rigo does those mystery movie Mondays.
Yeah, I love the Mystery Movie Monday.
Yes. So that was one of the movies that came out. So I actually got to see it I think almost a month before it came out.
Oh,
So
that's
it was
cool.
really
I'm really
exciting.
glad I didn't go to. That's my biggest fear about the Mystery Movie Mario is that it's like, what if it's a scary movie?
So what you got to do, this is what I do is I don't know if you on Facebook, but if you are, there's the Wriggle Unlimited like group you can follow. And because there's people on the East Coast, they always spoil what the movie is.
Well, then I'm
So
gonna have to join that.
I always kind of keep up, and they drop clues, so sometimes I can figure it out just kind of by release dates and stuff. But if I can't figure it out, I just wait till 4 o'clock and then see what East Coast says it is, and then I'm like, okay, I'll go. Then I'll just grab my ticket because usually they're never sold out. So usually I
Yeah,
can still get a ticket, but
yeah.
um,
That's how I saw Spirited last year. Was the $5
oh
movie.
yeah,
And I was really glad I went. And I was like, oh, I need to do this more. And then I literally talked myself out of it because it's like, it's going to be a scary movie and you're going to cry and not a fun cry either.
Oh, but yeah, no, it was that one was really good for a horror movie. There's always usually one good horror movie in the summer, and I think that popped in. It's A24, so it's very like different, and they
A24 is really making their mark when it comes to like scary stuff. I don't remember
mhm.
in the beginning of their time on the big screen, like they weren't always doing scary stuff. Like I remember thinking, oh, they're going to give Focus Features a run for their money because it had
Yeah,
a similar vibe. And now they're
mhm.
just like, we're going to scare the shit out of everybody.
Yeah, that's what
You're
they do.
welcome.
It's nice because they give the directors, the freedom too, which is nice.
Yeah.
So that one actually truly did scare me. Like doesn't give me nightmares, but it like freaked me out in the theater. I was like, oh my god, this is so creepy. So
I'm shaking my head. No, could
yes,
never. You could never get me. Nope, never gonna do it. The Blackening was it, but that's because it was billed as comedy.
horror comedy.
Horror,
Yes,
you can get me with comedy, but not
and
horror.
see that was a good one too. That was in the summer. That was a
Mm-hmm.
good one. So and then we
Yeah.
had Blue Beetle. I don't know if you saw got to see Blue
I
Beetle.
haven't got to see it yet. We were gonna go see it and then we mismanaged our time that week it released. And so it's still on my queue. I was gonna try and see it this weekend before we recorded. And I just didn't get around to it. But what was your most favorite this entire summer?
Probably Across the Spider Verse. I think just because I'm invested in Miles Morales
I love Miles Morales.
and I feel like they just upped their game and from the first one because the first one is classic, iconic.
Fantastic.
It has
Phenomenal.
one of my favorite scenes of a Spider-Man in there. So the second one, I feel like just upped its game and brought more character development. Gwen
Mm-hmm.
Stacy got more of a backstory
Mm-hmm.
and we got to see new characters and yeah, I just it was everything you could want in a Spider-Man movie. So that was
Yeah.
probably my favorite out of the whole summer.
I'm actually gonna have to tell you, Mario, it was probably my favorite too. And you know I saw Barbie 4 times. Because I feel like with what they're doing with Miles Morales, there's so much depth to it, but you also don't have to fully pay attention to everything to know what's going on in this one. Like you could have walked into this one without having seen the first one and still enjoyed the movie.
Yeah.
And I know that like Marvel tries to do that, but sometimes with Marvel stuff, you're just like, wait, 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 wait. Not always, but sometimes, like, especially now with what they're doing now, it just feels very much like this is going to serve as a vehicle for the next thing we're releasing. And it's just too much to pay attention to. And I don't want to do that.
You got to do a lot of homework
You got to do
before,
a lot
yeah.
of homework, and I don't want to do that. I
Mhm.
want to go into the movie theater and be entertained. And Across the Spider Verse did that.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
And it was one of those experiences where everybody in the movie theater at the end of it clapped and cheered. And I love
Mhm.
that shit.
Right?
I love that shit.
It was so good.
It was so
Yeah.
good. Okay, you want to talk about the top 10 grossing movies of the summer?
Yes, let's do that.
And I'm hoping this list hasn't changed since you sent it to me last week.
I don't think I looked this morning. Worldwide, it's a little different, but domestic, it's I believe it's still the same.
Okay, so we have our top 10, and I'm going to go from 10 to 1 because
Domestically, so just in the
domestic,
U.S.
just in the US. Number 10, Elemental. Number 9, Transformers. Number 8, Mission Impossible. Number 7, Indiana Jones. Number 6, Sound of Freedom. Number 5, The Little Mermaid. Number 4, Oppenheimer. Number 3, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Number 2, Across the Spider-Verse. And coming in at number 1, breaking all kinds of records, Barbie.
Barbie. Who saw that coming?
Well,
I knew I knew it was gonna be a hit because I was like, it's Greta Gerwig. I
she's
just
an
I
incredible
just didn't I just
filmmaker.
didn't realize it's gonna be like that big of a hit. I was like, dang, people are really like taking in the movie, which is good. I'm
Yeah.
glad because it's a
Yeah.
great movie.
Because women want more movies about them by them.
Hmm.
I think that's what the biggest takeaway of Barbie's legacy for me is that we needed more movies about us by us.
Hmm.
Because even though Barbie can be enjoyed by everybody, unless you're a heinous misogynist, because they've come for that movie,
Yeah.
it can be enjoyed by everybody. And go back a couple of episodes and listen to Natalie and I talk about the Barbie movie. So we don't have to spend a ton of time talking about it here. um, how many of these top 10 have you seen?
8 out of the 10. So I
Dang!
didn't get to see Sound of Freedom or Elemental.
I feel like it's
Um,
okay that you didn't see Sound of Freedom because the guy who did the film is in hot water now.
yeah. I
And
just
also, I just feel like it's not accurate to
that's
the
what I was reading was
human
like,
trafficking plight.
yeah, I mean, I get that that's a very important subject to learn and stuff, but I was reading like the history behind it and like accuracy, it's only like less than 50% true. So I'm like, okay, so it's more Hollywood, like you know, which I'll watch it once it hits like digital or something. Like I'll watch
Yeah.
it on TV, but
And you can
I
tell
just
me
there
about
was
it
just
because
so
I'm.
much there was just so much out at the time, so it was just
Mhm.
like I had to prioritize.
And I'm actually shocked that it even made the top 10 because I literally didn't hear about it until a friend of mine texted me who knows I love going to the movie theater, who went to the movie theater to see it, is not a movie theater person. I was like, I've never, like, what? So then I went to TikTok and I was like, oh, I'm not watching this movie.
Actually, yeah, I mean, I briefly heard about it before it came out, but I didn't really because it was pegged as one of those like Christian
Yeah.
conservative things, and
Yeah.
usually when it's those, I'm just like, and they're gonna be the same like cheesy
Yeah.
dialogue, cheesy acting. I'm like, I'm not wasting my time. And then once it released, I was like, oh, this movie is actually making some money. So I kind of then that's when I started doing research, and I
Well,
actually
Chris.
did intend to see it just because I
Mhm.
was like, I'll have some time, but it just never happened.
Yeah. I
And
get
then
that.
Elemental, um, yeah, I don't have kids, so sometimes it's hard to get to a movie to go.
And
with.
I did see Elemental, and I really enjoyed it. I know that some of the critics are kind of getting tired of the Pixar formula and they're wanting to see something more and different from Pixar.
Mhm,
I'm not one of those people because with Elemental, they do this whole like you have the you we all know the premise, right? Like
mhm,
everyone's either fire, water, air, earth, or whatever, and then like two elements that are different from each other, fire and water, fall in love. I love anything that has duality like that because I'm the product of basically a relationship that was told not that you're not allowed to be in love.
mhm.
Um, and so you can get me. Movies will always get me when that's a part of the story.
Mm.
So I'm just the old lady in the movie theater weeping at the end of Elemental.
That's like a funny. So then, out of the 10, which ones did you see?
I saw Barbie, Across the Spider-Verse, Guardians, The Little Mermaid, and Elemental. So I've seen half the
Mm.
list. I really was gonna try and see Oppenheimer so we could have like a decent chat about that, but it's 3 hours, man. Like I went and saw Gran Turismo on Friday, which I loved, by the way.
So good.
Again, another kid who's mixed, and I'm like, yes, mixed kids, give us stories. Um, and I was at the movie theater for 2.5 hours because of getting there, getting snacks, sitting and waiting. And then I like to read the credits because it's always, that's fun. So it's like your 3 hours is really you're asking me to be there for 4. And
Mhm,
that's a half my work day.
mhm.
I mean, I guess if I cover it on the show, I can justify it, but it's still like that's a lot of time to find. But like what's not on this list that I've seen that I really enjoyed, like I said, was Gran Turismo, but that opened later. That opened, I think, the 25th. So it's not
Yeah, of
like it had a
August.
whole lot of
Mhm.
time. And I loved the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles animated feature. That was
Mhm.
so good. I thought it was really well done. I loved the story, the way that they presented the story. I'm so excited for more.
Right?
Um, but yeah, so I love that you've seen 8 out of the top 10.
Summer movie season is always fun for me just because there's always, I feel like, a plethora of movies.
Mhm.
Um, and I was reading that this summer, the whole box office made over $4 billion, which
Dang.
hasn't done that since 2019 when Frozen 2 was out. So,
Frozen 2 is so
um,
much better than the first Frozen.
so, and of course, we were in the pandemic for the 3 years, so they were only hitting like a billion, a
Yeah.
billion. So this is like a big jump. So,
This
you
is
know,
a huge move too because it's showing that people are going back to the theater.
yeah,
And for a while there, shortly after everything reopened, it kind of felt like they were like, "Well, we're just going to give up. No one's coming."
yeah. But I feel like if you bring quality films, not just more, because I mean, if we kind of look back at it, a lot of the sequels didn't do very well. Like,
Mhm.
I mean, Indiana Jones, yeah, it's one of the top grossing domestically, but like worldwide, it didn't make much. Same with Mission Impossible. Same with um, like The Flash, Haunted Mansion didn't make much. So like big movies that were supposed to be big didn't do very well, but a lot of originals did. So like you got Barbie, you got
Mhm.
Oppenheimer,
Mhm.
um, stuff like that did really well.
Yeah.
So I think if you give audiences quality original stuff, they'll come out. You
Yeah.
know?
I agree with you because there are those moments where you're just like, well, I'm just gonna wait for it to be on demand. I
Yeah.
didn't feel that way about any of the movies that I saw in the theater. Every single movie I made the intention to see in theater, it was specifically because I want to see this on the big screen. I want that
Hmm.
experience. And it was completely worth it. Like with Gran Turismo, it's going to be a great movie if you watch it on the big screen or the small screen, but it's so much more fun on the big screen because they incorporate so much of the elements of the video game, excuse
Hmm.
me, racing simulator into the film that it's just really exciting. I
Yeah.
think that really leveled it up in a way that kind of makes me bummed out that they, waited till the end of August to release it, because I think you and I had this conversation about how it was supposed to be in the beginning of August, and I was like lamenting to you. It's like, I went to go buy tickets and they're not available anymore. And you're like, yeah, they delayed it. I was like, "Ah."
Yeah. They were hoping the strike would probably be over, but and then
Yeah.
they decided to use they did like fan events throughout the month
Hmm.
to like boast word of mouth and stuff. So
Yeah. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see going into fall how the strike affects the box office,
mhm.
because that Barbie marketing campaign from beginning to end, I mean, if the actor strike had happened prior to Barbie's release,
We'd probably be talking different numbers here, I
we
bet.
might be talking different numbers because they did so much. They had so much press. They were at every news outlet from prestigious to fun and campy. I mean, after I saw it the first time, I hit YouTube and watched every flippin' interview I could find with the cast.
Mhm.
And there's so much out there. And then the minute the strike happened, it was, obviously crickets, but
Yeah.
it's just wild how like the way that they could do the fun things with um all the interviews and stuff. Like Greta Gerwig's Letterbox interview was really good, but then also when they went to Pop Sugar, like the whole cast is at Pop Sugar and they're doing like these Q&As with them that are fun but also incorporate the movie, and like,
Mhm.
it's like you need
And these
you
studios don't wanna pay the actors.
I know, it's so annoying. I hate them all. I mean, in their current state, I hate
Yeah.
what the studios are doing to the artists. It's not okay.
But I do gotta say the summer, I think, was saved by Barbenheimer, which is hecka funny, so how that became a
100%.
meme and to
Did you
have
do did you do the back to back or no?
I didn't get to do the back to back, I did the day and the day after,
Okay.
so Barbie on Thursday and Oppenheimer on Friday.
Yeah.
So, I did it that way just because it wasn't enough time in the day and I still had to work, so
See what I mean? 3 hours. You want
Yes.
me to sit through a 2-hour movie, Barbie, and then you want me to sit through a 3-hour movie, Oppenheimer. That's literally a work
Yeah.
day. By the time you leave, you've been at the theater for 6 hours.
If I had the time, I totally would have did it. It was funny because our theater had their staff had the Barbenheimer shirts
Oh,
and stuff. It
cute.
said, "I survived Barbenheimer," and I was like, "I don't want one of those."
That's
But
cute. I love that.
but
I
yeah,
wish
2 different
that
movies. It was funny because 2 different types of movies both were able to succeed at the box office, and I think Barbenheimer was a little bit of, kind of like the trend, like everybody, "Ooh, I want to do the Barbenheimer," kinda thing,
yeah.
but I still think people enjoyed both films,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, I actually had a friend that went and saw Oppenheimer. I was like, I value your opinion. Please tell me what you think afterwards. And she was like, when it comes to filmmaking, this is a good movie. She's like, do
Mhm.
we want more stories about white men who destroy things? Probably not. But like ultimately, like the cinematography, the acting, like she's like, it had all the elements that you want in a good movie. And I was like, oh, damn it. And it's like, now I need to see it because it's like, a good, like, how can you pass up a good movie? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like an objectionably good movie.
Mhm.
Film,
Mhm.
rather. Film. Let's
You
be
gotta
let's be
see it before it
pretentious
goes
about it.
out in theaters because you were just talking about seeing it on the big screen. It is one you have to see on the big
I
screen.
know. It's one of those ones that it's gonna be better on the big screen. I'll just buy a 72-inch TV. No one
Oh my
that shit is so expensive. Like out of the 8 that you've seen, how would you rank them? Like what order would you put them in?
ooh, that's a good one.
I'm full of good questions.
Probably Across the Universe or Across the Spider-Verse. Then I would probably say Barbie, Guardians of the Galaxy, Oppenheimer, Mission Impossible, Transformers, Little Mermaid. Yeah. Indiana
Okay.
Jones.
Okay. I
Like
liked
that.
I liked Little Mermaid. At first, I was like, okay. Bailey is incredibly talented. Like when she sang, I got chills. But then
Mhm.
I was also like, this movie is so cheesy. And then I got home and I was like, shit, I can't stop thinking about that movie. Maybe I actually liked it.
Right. It was a good adaptation. It was a I think
Yeah.
it was a little slower because like, my niece, she loves Little Mermaid, like, loves Little Mermaid. So, we took her to see this, and she kinda got bored in the middle, whereas, like, the
Yeah.
original, she could watch the whole thing, like, straight through, but this one, she kinda got bored in the middle because there's a lot more dialogue, obviously.
More dialogue, and I think the pacing is slower too, because I
Yeah.
did come home and watch the original, and it moves pretty quick. And I think that's why I was like, okay, Barbie, or excuse me, okay, Little Mermaid, like I
Yeah.
need you to move. Um, so that was kind of hard for me, but I love they basically were just like, here's the cast, and it didn't like they weren't particular about it. You know what I mean? Like it was a diverse
Mhm.
cast, and like I also loved, again, duality. I love duality. So this time I took in the story of like, human versus mer people as opposed to you know what? I talked about it on Medium Lady Talks. So I'm gonna link that interview because I cannot for the life of me remember what I said. And I watched that movie 3 months ago at this point.
Mm,
So trying to remember everything is hard because I don't have notes on it. But I did I did feel like all the women who were like, this movie is for us. And, this was for us. I was like, no, it ain't. This movie is for moms to bring their daughters so there can be a moment of nostalgia. I went with my niece and my best friend, and I don't know if I would have had the same enjoyable experience had I gone by myself
mm,
because seeing it through my niece's eyes was a lot of fun. And I
okay.
think my niece is older than yours. She's 9.
Oh yeah, my niece is 4, so.
Yeah. Yeah. So totally different taking an experience
Mhm.
too. I like your ranking. And for people, friends at home, if you're listening, hit Mario on Instagram because he's ranks all of his movies and grades them. So you can find out his letter grades for all of these films that he has reviewed. Okay, what was the biggest surprise for you this summer in the movieverse?
There's a couple. We were just talking about it. Gran Turismo, I think, was a big surprise. I kind of went in because I remember playing the game and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go see this. It looks like it could be cheesy fun, but it was
Yeah.
actually like very well done, and like you said, it
Yeah.
like brings you into the driver's seat, and the acting was good, the cast was great,
Oh,
and
yeah. David
I had a
Harbour was so
oh yeah, he was
delightful.
great. Um, so I just had so much fun with it. So that was a surprise to me. Blue Beetle. I know it's a DC, and so people probably went in with, precognitive thoughts and stuff, and just like, but and even I mean, not saying I did, but I was like, I was gonna go support it because I watch all the DC movies no matter what. But I was excited because it was Latino representation,
Mhm.
and I just fell in love with it. It was just so about family. It was very, an origin story, and just so much heart in there. Lots of good action scenes. So it it was a very big surprise that it was very good. So
Yeah, it's always
I'm
surprising when DC makes a good movie.
yeah, I was very sad that like not everyone was being able to see it or going to see it. So I hope that it, makes a hit when it hits digital and stuff because it's a really good movie, and anybody if I've recommended it to and seen it said they really enjoyed it. So and then probably Talk to Me Again. That's the horror movie. That one
Mhm.
really surprised me too because I really didn't know what it was about going into it, and it just was as a filmmaking aspect, it was beautifully shot. It's very terrifying. Um, really good story, and it's more than just horror. Like there's like
Mhm.
actual like elements that kind of you have to think about, and they like subjects they actually touch on. That's actually like really crazy to think about. They talk a lot about grief and stuff and how people handle it, and
Oh,
so it's
interesting.
so they say this in Scream in the newer version of Scream. They say it's a elevated horror, so there's like messages behind it and stuff. So
Mhm.
it is very much that, and I really enjoyed it. And I don't think it's for everyone, obviously, but I think the horror community, I think, did find a big hit in this one. So I was happy for that one too.
Yeah.
So those are probably my three like surprise ones that I was like, "Oh, it was actually really good."
Mhm.
So,
Mhm. Yeah, I agree with you about Gran Turismo. I was surprised it was good because sometimes when they take a video, like there was a period of time when they would take video games and make them movies, and then you leave and you're like, what did I just watch? Like, what is this? And I think that we're moving out of that now, right? Because didn't
mhm,
Uncharted like, isn't Uncharted an amazing movie? I haven't seen it. I have issues with Marky Mark, but that's between him and me, and he doesn't
mhm.
know about it. But I felt like Gran Turismo was so surprisingly good and delightful. I was in it. I was one of 3 people in the movie theater, which really bummed me out. And this older like woman and her friend, and I saw them in the parking lot, and they totally drove their Corvette to go see the movie.
Aw.
This little red Corvette. I was like, "All right, Prince," right? And then she stood too close to me in the snack line, so that made me not like her. But then, it was just the 3 of us at the movie theater, and I just thought that was hilarious, but also kind of bummed me out.
Yeah.
Um, I also was surprised about with how much I liked the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie.
That was a good one too. I love that.
Yeah, I was really my expectations were so low because you and I, Mario, remember the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie from 19 whatever, and we loved it because we didn't know any better at the
I
time.
I tried showing my nieces that because they want to watch the new one,
Yeah.
and I tried showing them. They're like, "What is this?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "Well, this was good when I was a kid."
This is all we had, okay? Like you kids are spoiled now. Um so that really warmed my heart because I left there just man, I loved all every time I heard a voice that I recognized, I was like, yes, I love that actor. And it was so surprisingly good. I think everyone needs to go see it. I think those are the two for me that like all the other ones I saw this summer, I expected to be good. Like I had
Mhm.
very high expectations. They met those expectations, but these two were the two where I was just like, this is my own, this is me wanting to see him out of nostalgia rather than, or like in the case of Gran Turismo, because, he's a mixed kid. And Ginger Spice plays his mom, which I love.
Right? I didn't know that until afterwards. I
I
was
was
like,
like,
"Oh,
that
that's
looks
so
like Ginger
crazy."
Spice. Is this Ginger Spice? The whole movie, every time they showed her, I'm like, I'm pretty fucking sure that's Ginger Spice. And it was.
That was really
Um,
cool.
and my favorite trivia fact of that movie is that the person in real life who the movie is about is the stunt double in the film. I
Right? That was
just
so
loved
good.
that. It's like that's such a great way to come full circle in telling this
Mhm.
story. Okay, is there a film that you think was underrated this summer?
I'm gonna have to say Blue Beetle. I feel like it was so under.
I
I
feel
feel
like
so sad for him.
Well, you know what? And I feel like it didn't get the same kind of attention as some of the other films that released this summer that DC, because I feel
Due
like
to the actors strike
well, that and I
too.
feel like DC really pushed Flash, which they
They
shouldn't
did.
have considering all the shit that Ezra Miller has done in the last few years.
Mhm.
So like it really bums me out that they like double down on the Flash, but then we're just like, Blue Beetle.
Well, I also read though they kind of ran out of funding because they promoted Barbie a lot too.
Oh
So
my god.
if you realize a lot of the movies that just recently came out didn't get much advertising, so that
Yeah.
was one of them, unfortunately. And then, have you seen anything about Wonka and the Color Purple that's supposed to come out in like a couple months? No, except
I
the one trailer.
on Instagram.
Exactly. So, hence why supposedly they've been pushing some movies back to 2024 because they want to advertise because they have to pay for like Academy, like Oscar
Right.
campaigns and stuff. And if they're
Right.
broke or they can't do it,
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a
so
good point. Okay, so yours is Blue Beetle. I will make it a point to see it before it's out of the theater because I really like every time the trailer comes on, I'm like, man, I think I'm gonna love this movie.
it's so good. You have to go watch it.
And I love George Lopez. Like, I loved his show. I loved his stand up. I haven't seen anything really of his lately because there's so many more people in the world to follow their careers in with the advent of social media. But I watched the George Lopez show when he had
Yeah,
his sitcom and I enjoyed it. No idea if it aged well because I haven't seen it recently. Um, I mean, that's the risk you run, right?
yeah.
Do you think any of these films have a chance during award season? And if you think
Several.
so, tell me why and what for.
I think we'll see a. I think we're going to see another Barbenheimer at the Oscars.
Okay.
I think both films are going to go against each other, which is cool.
For best
Yeah,
picture or best
I could
original
see it
screenplay?
both. I
Okay.
think they're going to land a lot of noms, especially because a lot of the awards movies that are getting delayed now to 2024. It's just making it that much more easier for
Yeah.
movies like this to get more awards.
Mhm.
Um, I think definitely in like the production, categories and stuff. Um, so I think those two are going to be big ones. Across the Spider Verse and Elemental will probably get into the best animated feature. Um, I could see uh, probably like Mission Impossible and Transformers possibly get into like the visual effects race along with like Guardians of the
Mm.
Galaxy. But yeah, A lot of these will be production awards, but I think Barbie and Oppenheimer have the best for like majority more of the awards, like even acting categories, even writing categories, best
Mhm,
picture
mhm,
noms.
mhm.
So I'm sure we'll discuss it when it comes out, and we can be like,
Yeah.
we predicted this.
Yeah. I'll run clips from this episode so that way we can say, "Here's what we said. Here's what
Yes.
we're saying now." I would be very, very, very surprised if Greta Gerwig and, Christopher Nolan didn't get nominated for Best Director. Just
I
because
hope I
I know I
hope
haven't
so.
seen Oppenheimer yet, but Cillian Murphy is a phenomenal actor.
Mhm,
So I cannot imagine him not doing an incredible job under the direction of Christopher Nolan.
mhm. Yeah, he's a lock for best actor.
Mhm. Tommy Shelby. I might have to rewatch Peaky Blinders now.
Mm.
Love that show.
But yeah, this was a very good summer. I think there was a lot of variety. I think there was a lot for um, mainstream on audiences as well.
Mhm.
Um, and I think it kind of shows too that people are willing to come out if you give them good product. I think that
Yeah.
was one of the biggest takeaways of the summer this year was give them original content, give them good quality original content, and audiences will come.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I agree, and I think there was something for everybody. There was literally something for everybody. Like I said, I went and saw, Little Mermaid with my niece, 9 years old. I saw Barbie with all my girlfriends every single time. I did go once by myself because sometimes you just have to go by yourself.
mhm,
I'm trying to think. Elemental family film, Mission Impossible definitely could be, a date night movie or go with your friends. Like there was something for everybody
mm,
this summer, as opposed to years past where it's like, well, that's not really a film I'm interested in. Because I know even though Top Gun Maverick last year did really, really well, I still know a lot of people who have zero interest in seeing that movie.
yeah.
Well, Mario, I appreciate your time and your willingness to always come on the show to talk about movies and the goings on in the film world that we love so much. Can you please tell our friends at home where they can find you and support your work?
You can find me on Instagram at Movies with Mr. Mario, where I do movie and TV reviews of shows I'm watching. And I'm looking forward to spooky season, so you'll get to see a lot of horror and scary content coming up. So
Is there something coming up that you're really excited about?
for horror, Saw
Yeah.
X, Saw 10.
Ooh, no, no.
I just started watching from the beginning, so I got to catch
God,
up
that
before.
franchise is old too. We're old.
I just watched, you know what? I just recently rewatched the Big Fat Greek Wedding movies to
Oh,
get
uh-huh.
ready for number three. And I
Yeah.
was like, man, the times have changed since this first one came out. Cause it was like, I was in high school when the first one came out. So,
Yeah. I'm gonna take my mom to see it. We're going the weekend it opens. I'm gonna take her to see it because she really loved the first one. We are not Greek. My mother's side is Italian, and she saw that movie and she was like, "Holy shit, you! That's also the Italians."
right.
It's like, yeah, mom. When you're not waspy, it's very relatable.
Hmm. Yes. Lots of good stuff coming up fall season. Hopefully, Oscars. We'll see if they get delayed too.
Yeah, because aren't the Emmys delayed?
They're delayed till January now. It's
Yeah.
4 months later.
Yeah, the Emmys are already delayed. I think there was somebody that's the only one so far that we've heard of a
Yeah.
delay. I wonder if we should do an episode that's like RIP to the TV shows that we loved and got canceled due to the
Oh,
writer strike.
How I Met Your Father.
I
I
know that
I was so
one.
bitter about that one. I was like, really?
Me
Like, can't
too.
even give us like a shortened third season?
Yeah, something to wrap it up at the very least.
I'm like, the writers better come out and tell us who the father was, because
Amen. Because we need to know. We got to find out in How I Met Your Mother. We need closure. Do not do
Yeah,
this to us. And those actors are not going to be young forever. So you can't just replace them and start over.
yeah. They're gonna be like, "Oh, it's a character you haven't met yet," or something like that. We're like, "Of
Yeah,
course."
of course it is. Friends, I will link his handles in show notes so you can follow him if you are not already. And go see one of these movies that we talked about. And if you did see one of them, find us on the gram so we can chat about it, because summer movie season, outside of awards season movies, what am I saying? I love summer movie season. And I also love the season of, oh, I think they're trying to win an award for this film.
Yes. Some of those are really good movies sometimes.
Oh, my friends. I am so sad the summer is officially over, but I'm also excited about the cozy autumn vibes and big sweaters, hoodie season, and those comfort movies that help us get through seasonal affective disorder. If there was a summer film that you loved more than anything and we mentioned it today, shoot me a DM and let's chat about why you loved it. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok at the Julia Washington. I want to thank my guest Mario Mellow one more time for joining me yet again. He is our official movie reviewer here, whether he likes it or not. He always has great insight and thoughtful reviews. Find him on Instagram at Movies with Mr. Mario. If you enjoyed this episode and you know a few people who would enjoy it too, share it with them directly from your podcast player, won't you? The easiest and best way for you to support this show is by sharing our episodes with your friends and maybe even your enemies. I mean, I don't know your life. If you can't get enough of Pop Culture Makes Me Jealous, join us on Patreon. For $5 a month, you get bonus content, one bonus episode a month, and access to our virtual studio audience happy hour. And honestly, a lot more. If you're not ready to commit to me, that's totally fine too. You're not alone, but you're more than welcome to join the community for free too. I do want to do a big shout out to our Jelly Pop studio audience, Jelly Pop's book club, and Jelly Pop's best friends club. Y'all keep this show going, and I am really so grateful to all of you. Check it out, patreon.com/Julia Washington. Friends, thank you so much for joining us today. Season 5 is coming, finally, at some point. It's going to air, I swear, I promise. And this year, we are examining our relationship with Disney movies. Thanks for tuning in, y'all. Until next time.